Hello and welcome to this Tuesday, July 30th, 2019 episode of Apple Sidekick. Now today, Apple had an earnings call. So that's what I'm going to talk about because it's actually a pretty big deal. And the reason that it's a big deal is because Apple is diversifying away from the iPhone to be able to build a more solid core business that's not reliant on one product. As I'm talking, I just got an email from the beta software program. Try the new iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS, and TV OS. The beta program is pretty cool. I might join soon because it is nice to be able to play around with the beta software, especially for iPad. I really kind of want to play around with iPad OS. Anyway, Apple earned 53.8 billion in revenue. It's a record-setting third quarter for them. And what that really means is that even with iPhone sales down by about $3 billion, there was $26 billion in revenue, down from 29.9 billion. So $4 billion in iPhones wiped away. Now we don't know if that's because it's a lower selling price or lower shipments because they stopped reporting. But what we do know is that iPads were up, Mac revenue was up, and wearables, home, accessories, all stuff that's improving. Their service sector is up. Okay, so their wearable revenues, wearables, home, and accessories jumped to 5.525 billion. That's up from 3.73 billion in quarter three of 2018. So really that's an increase of nearly $2 billion there where they lost $4 billion in life. So the Apple Watch is kind of cannibalizing, AirPods cannibalizing. You're not needing a new iPhone as much as you're needing the accessories, the watch, the AirPods, the HomePod, things like that. And it's nice to see that their growth is actually sustaining in those other areas so that they're still having record-setting quarters and even when iPhone sales are down. So that's really, really great. Apple services, including Apple TV, up 13% to $11.5 billion. That's really huge. I did have, okay, so let's see. Prior to the earnings, Apple stock was up a bit and after hours trading $209.40 per share at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if that's really relevant. They had over $17 billion in stock buybacks completed in this quarter. Apple is expecting 61 to 64 billion in sales in the fourth quarter. Apple's board has declared a cash dividend of 77 cents per share payable on August 15th. iPhone sales down 3.5 billion. Mac sales up 500 million. iPad sales up 365 million. Wearables and home accessories up 1.8 billion. This is all from last year. Sales down in Europe by 200 million. Greater China by 300 million. Sales up in US and rest of Asia Pacific by 500 million. Apple's most recent results are about the same as the 2013 holiday quarter. That's pretty incredible. Tim Cook wants to return growth in mainland China. Let's see what else. They've got Apple sales and Apple retail returns to growth. Services growth 15% after one-time benefit last year at this time. I don't know what that means. These are notes from appleinsider.com. Thousands of Apple employees have been using Apple Card. They're going to roll it out in August, which is cool. Apple Pay is adding more new users than PayPal. and their monthly transaction volume is growing 4 times as fast. Apple Pay has had 1 billion transactions per month, twice the volume of a year ago. Apple TV app viewership up 40% year over year. Apple Care, Apple Music, search revenue, Apple Store all-time revenue records. Third consecutive quarter of iPad sales growth. And Tim Cook said there's been an enormous amount to be excited about with the Mac, and that's true with Mac Pro. I actually do have new hope in the Mac and the iPad right now. The iPhone is kind of in limbo. Today is supposed to be about the iPad, and I think the iPad is really kind of the winner here because we're seeing growth in standard computing devices like the iPad and the Mac. The iPhone is slowing, and that's because we're seeing, I think, less requirements with the iPhone. There's so much power in them, and now people are going back to upgrade their iPads. They're going back to upgrade their Macs, and that's how I personally have felt. My iPad is good, my iPhone is good, but my Mac definitely needs an update. And I feel like I would much rather spend $1,500 to $3,000 on a Mac than $1,500 on an iPhone when I have an iPhone 10 with 256 gigabytes of memory plus an iPhone 7 Plus with 256 gigabytes of memory, and I carry both around all the time. So now Apple is saying more than 5 times iPhones traded in versus the year ago quarter. So a bunch of iPhones have been traded in. 506 stores in 22 countries. That's huge. 90 of the largest 100 banks by assets are installing Apple products. 90 of the largest banks are installing Apple products. That's extremely huge. Two-thirds of top banks deploying Apple products. Quarter ended with $211 billion in cash and securities, $3 billion in term debt retired, $108 billion in total debt remains. Wow, so really they only have $100 billion because they have $108 billion debt. $88 million Apple shares were repurchased. And there was some Q&A. Explain growth in estimates September quarter in estimates more than previous percent growth. Continued growth in wearables services expected includes $1 billion in foreign exchange headwind. This is all garbage. Who cares about this? The point is Apple's doing great, and not to put a lot of stock into manufacturing moves out of China. That's what he said. The China trade situation fluid, tariff exemptions not granted, potential alternatives to China production question? And he said no. Apple's been manufacturing all over the place. China, Korea, Japan, EU. We've been making the Mac Pro in the US, and we'd like to continue to do that. That's interesting because Donald Trump was upset about that. I think that Apple needs to bring manufacturing back to the United States, but they need to invest in the infrastructure to do that. That's why we need more engineers, more programmers, more people that are going to develop this ecosystem, more people that are going to build the manufacturing units, because ultimately the next level manufacturing is all going to be a lot more high level robotics. They're already manufacturing phones in China with a lot of robotics, and it's getting more and more and more. So I'm not too concerned about moving manufacturing out of China, other than the simple fact that we should diversify manufacturing globally. And that's what they're doing. They're waiting for the times to catch up, and that's all we can do. So thanks for another episode of Apple Sidekick. Just remember, it was a record-setting quarter. Nothing to worry about with Apple because they're continuing to move forward, continuing to make strides, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see that they still had a record-setting quarter, even with iPhone sales down. So have a great day.